Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Eladin Bar, CEO of Robot Lab, and today we have with us Pi Technology. We have Tuan and Nati, both of them from Pi Technology, and we are really, really excited to hear their story about the product and the company. Thank you, Tuan and Nati, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. So, so tell us a little bit about your products. I heard that you're launching bodies. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So we've been on since 2016, where Pi has always been about tech toys, and we do so by bringing a different experience to children. What you notice a lot is all of our products. There's two commonalities. One, there's always an app component, a digital screen component, and then we combine that with the traditional physical play. The idea as we tackle it is we don't shy away from screen time for kids. Rather than that, we develop quality apps that are engaging and educational. So the concept is we give them quality educational experiences through screen. And by doing that, you don't have to be so much concerned about the amount of time a child spends on screen. So take that philosophy and add it to Botsies, which is what we're doing now. With Botsies, we combine construction, building play, which is something kids know at an early age. It builds hand-eye coordination, understanding of colors, instructions, etc. Of course, imagination, all those wonderful things. But what we do is we add an app, we add robotics, we add AR, we add sensors, and we add servos. The combination of which is what you have is an experience where children create robots, they build with their hands, they use a game that's in the app. And then through the sequence that they learn through the process, what they do is they learn coding, basic fundamental principles of coding. We're talking about kids that are in the 4 years plus range. That's what we're targeting here. They learn AR, how that adapts to the experience as well. And then overall, at the end of the day, when they finish their project, they would have gone through 30 different coding levels. They would have built a minimum of 6 different robots, all with different coding behaviors and personalities. And they would have experienced AR, all within a wonderful package that's in a small box.
Yeah.
Quantity-wise, it's 130 blocks. These are large, soft color blocks. Again, they're tested for safety, so there's large, rounded corners. You don't step on them, you don't hurt yourself. That's safety is our concern. The app does not record any audio or video, of course, because again, child safety is a concern. We don't want anything external going into the experience. But ultimately, the goal is when the child is finished with Botsies, they understand fundamental coding basics in terms of how programs work, how to click and drag a certain command and execute the robot command, such that when they go to kindergarten or preschool and they're introduced to coding, they'll say, you know what, I've seen that before at home.
Yeah. I mean, you touched a very, very important point here, which is, screen time. Everyone is like afraid
Right.
of, screen time, but there is a huge difference
Right.
between active and passive
Right.
screen time.
Right.
And what we want, kids to do is to use screens as an
Right.
active tool to, interact with the environment, change, parameters, and see how the real world has been affected by that. We don't want them to sit and just watch movies and videos and TV shows all day long.
Right.
So that's a very, very important distinction that, screens, like any other tool, right, can be
Right.
a blessing or a curse. It depends on how
Right.
you use it.
Right.
Yeah. So, before going deeper into Botis, this is not your first product. Can you talk a little bit about, where, it's coming from? What's the history behind all of that?
Yeah. So in terms of coding, this is our second product that does coding. We launched a product prior. It was called Augie.
Mm-hmm.
That was launched in 2017. Augie essentially was a very robust device in that it offered a different coding experience in AR. It was for a little more advanced in terms of age.
Mm-hmm.
But what we saw was while it was great in the coding and AR sequences, too much of it lived within the app, right? So we had a physical robot, but the engagement with the child was almost non-existent. So what we learned from that experience is children have to have a relationship with the device and the robot itself.
Yeah.
Right. So in other words, with Augie, it was great, but then at the end of the day, you had a robot that kind of did its own thing, and the child didn't connect emotionally with it. And so because there was no emotional connection, the willingness to wanting to learn coding was not as strong as we'd hoped it would be.
Gotcha.
So we take that understanding and we adopt Botsies where the child has to physically build a robot. And through the creative process, they're now emotionally contained in that environment. So they're invested.
Mm-hmm.
So to see a child build pieces and grab them and manipulate the blocks, and then they finally have this cool looking device, and then they take the app and they code the device, and then now it moves and interacts with what they say, the child has ownership, right? So
Yeah.
she understands this is my creation, I programmed the bot, I gave it life, so now that's my experience right there. And
Yeah.
so we went back to the drawing board essentially and said, you know what, we can't forget and ignore the traditional creative play experience that children need to have to really develop while simultaneously introducing technology, because otherwise what you get is technology just for technology's sake. And that's not what we're trying to do, because in a younger learning experience, we feel that the physical traditional play values must be present in what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're hearing here is basically the best of
Right.
the best
Yeah.
practices in that, like, get the feedback from the market, learn from
Right.
what educators say and
Right.
how educators see the engagement and interaction in the classroom, and
Yeah.
iterate and improve that as we go forward.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting, because I mean many companies are trying to force a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
It's not
Right.
going to
Right.
work.
Yeah. And one of the harder things in terms of the tech toy space is we're, especially Pi, because we have access to in-house development of apps and experiences, etc. It's easier for us to just look at it as adults and say, look, this is what a child really needs on paper and what we perceive.
Yeah.
But it's, when you think about it, I'm 41, and for me to sit here and tell you what a 4 or 5-year-old needs to develop is a little, it's not as simple to
Yeah.
accept. So
Exactly.
what we do is we actually at HQ, we have large rooms of toys and blocks and other things that we create. And we have kids come in, they play, and they have field days. And we have people there, our staff talking to their parents, talking to their teachers, asking them, what are you doing in your classrooms? What's working for you guys? What do you think is the best way for us to adopt what we have here, you see in this room, our resources? What can we do to help enhance that experience in terms of what you folks are doing in the classroom or as a parent? And the bots is a culmination of such learning, such experiences, and dialogue with parents. And as you said, previous products that we launched that we saw different types of results with.
Yeah. So Nati, maybe you can talk a little bit about the age groups and what the kids are experiencing and how they interact with the program. We mentioned AR and
Right.
physical robots and coding, how the whole thing play
Right.
together in a classroom
Right.
setting.
I could speak to the product and app side of it, and then I'll ask Nati to contribute in terms of why we specifically look at the age group we're looking at. So from the app experience, when you look at it, there's very minimal text. It's very audio driven. So, and it's very visual driven in terms of colors and animation. We're looking at younger kids, and so we're trying to capture their attention, understanding that within a few seconds, their eyes are everywhere but the app. So when you see the app, it's very colorful, they're cute animations, and the storytelling exists within the experience, what the kids can identify almost immediately without having to have too many instructions from the parents and or the app itself. The sounds are very cute. You hear the little audible sounds that the robots make in the animation. It's really fun. And then just the blocks themselves, I touched on it before, they're large blocks made for small hands, okay? They're safe. So when kids take them apart, put them together, they don't struggle. Oftentimes with little blocks, when they interlock, the child can't pull them apart. And so what you create is frustration from the child, and that's the last thing you want, because frustration yields just dislike and discontent, and that's the antithesis of what we're trying to strive for. So on the product side, that's what we're looking at in terms of app development and physical development, understanding what kids that age would typically look for in an experience. Okay, and then to determine the age grading that we have, we talk to teachers and parents, mostly teachers in their environments, and we'll let Najee speak to that in terms of what we think or why we think bots is appropriate for ages 4+.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. So some of the things that we've developed along with the robot and the app is actual curriculum and lesson plans for teachers to implement in their classroom. The lessons are aligned to CSTA and ISTE standards. And we also really emphasize SEL competencies. So students practice their relationship skills, self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and responsible decision-making. And that's embedded in the lessons because students are asked to work in a group to build a botsy, to follow the instructions. And in the lessons, they're really facilitated by the teacher to encourage them on things like how to take care of the hardware, how to talk about botsy, so how to share what they built with their classmates, and also how to share. So these are really important skills that students in the younger grades are learning to develop. And the botsies provide an opportunity to really learn and engage with others. In some cases, you can imagine that students get really excited and want to, completely take over the building or coding of it. So the lessons really help students rotate roles. So we've built in roles like a taskmaster that makes sure everybody's moving along. There's roles like somebody is in charge of taking apart and putting away all of the materials. There's presentation roles where kids are prompted with what they can say about their botsy. And so really there's a lot of modeling that happens in the lessons. And we're really excited to be partnering with teachers that are integrating these lessons in their classroom. We have a teacher that teaches an immersion classroom, and they're going to be using it in the fall whenever we get back to school. So they can build the foundations of computational thinking and really get them ready for when they start coding in a more advanced age at a later in later grades.
Great. So for every challenge or every question, there is only one correct answer, or students can go like in different directions and compile a different robot and different code behind it that still answer the question. How creative can they be? Let's ask it this way.
They can be very creative. So the botsy is on its own. The students can build whatever robot they want. But in the lessons that we've outlined, they've been scaffolded. So at the beginning, they are building a specific bot, but by the end, they're deciding what kind of personality and features they want to incorporate. And then as a group, they decide what they're going to build. So it's really an opportunity to be creative, to share ideas and then decide on an idea. The whole process of making that happen can be quite challenging for adults, let alone little kids. So we really want to build those foundational skills of how to manage themselves and be aware of the group and make decisions with little ones, and especially around technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit or give us an example of like a challenge or question that they need to solve, how they collaborate, how they work together, what type of skills they need in order to get started to do that, and what type of skills they build through the experience?
Yeah, so the culminating project that they do is design their own botsy and reverse engineer. So they're also learning some of the vocabulary that's associated with coding, engineering, and technology. And in this project, they work with their classmates to reverse engineer design process and then build and code their own botsy. And then they're asked to present and describe their design and why they chose it. And embedded in the lessons, we include rubrics that a teacher can use. They're very basic, that they can use to assess students on their being able to talk about their botsy, how they present, and how they work together with others, and then their actual product. What does it look like? Is it functioning? Does it move?
Gotcha. And in the presentation mode, they present to the rest of the class, or?
Yes. We're part of the, as an educator, part of the skills that you want kids to develop is to be able to explain their thinking and explain their work. So they get a lot of practice with this, and we thought that was important to incorporate in the lessons.
That's great. So what would you say, from your experience working with teachers, what's the most exciting feature for students, for teachers to work with this kind of robot? What gets everyone I wish I had it in 10,000 other places?
I think the open-ended aspect of it, that they can create whatever they want. At the beginning, the app is really beautifully designed so that they can follow directions and do a step-by-step process to building, so actually putting the pieces together. But then by the end of it, they realize that they know all these different tools to build their own bot and be able to code it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely exciting. I mean,
We want to avoid them getting bored, right? When they know what it's going to do.
yeah, I mean, it's not like been there, done that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fall back on what Nati was talking about earlier in the open-ended play. The goal of bots is really is not the end all for coding. It's really the entrance into the world of coding for kids. Just to understand, like, coding is essentially, the way we see it, is a command function, right? If I do A, then the robot does B. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And what we do is we take, with all of our products, we take a contextual approach to learning. The idea with bots is once a child has gone through the coding sequences, they've gone through the app, they've gone through lesson plans, they would have learned that by building this robot, or whichever robot it is, I noticed that if I do this command, the robot moves in a certain way. Like if I build the monkey and I hit this command, the monkey will move his arms and play the drums, right? But then the goal is for the child to look at that robot specifically and wonder, what is it about that robot that makes it move its arms? And then they realize after a while, well, the block itself, the motor itself, is a rotational motor.
Mm-hmm.
So what if I take that motor, I take this robot apart, I remove the monkey's head. Let's say I build all these blocks that I have, because the blocks are really just building pieces and construction pieces, right? They're creative. So let's take that block, let's attach other blocks, and then what if I have, let's say, a dinosaur? Can I use that block itself, that motorized rotation? Can I use that as a leg movement? Can I code that and make sure that this thing moves differently? That's possible. That's what the goal is in bots, is to get them started off on a certain pathway, but let them really just use the technology, use the robots, and use that understanding to take it one step further.
Yeah.
Once we have that, that's the win.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Now, as a teacher classroom, what do I need in order to use bots in my classroom? Do I need iPads, or do I need internet access? Do I need, does it work on Chromebooks?
No Chromebooks.
Usual questions that we are getting.
Right. So right now we're compatible on 2 devices, or multiple devices. Is iOS 12 and above, okay, and Android 8.0 and above. The requirement on Android and both iOS is you have to run the latest AR software supported devices. On Apple devices, iOS 12 and above, because it runs ARKit.
Yeah.
Okay? And Botsies was actually developed with focus on ARKit, because we had met with Apple 2 years prior and they mandated that as an initiative.
Yeah.
On the Android side, it's 8.0 and above, because that one runs AR Core.
Yeah.
The Botsies app itself is fundamentally grounded in AR experiences. So any device that does not run those 2 AR softwares will not be compatible with the Botsies.
Okay.
Internet is needed insofar as you just have to download the app at one time. And
so once I download it, I don't need any internet access or
nothing. Yeah, it lives within the app itself. It's Bluetooth connected. With prior products, we ran on Wi-Fi connected devices, and we found connection was a problem. So on this one, we reverted back to Bluetooth and found it to be much more seamless.
Okay, great. Now, as again, as a teacher, as an educator, looking at like classroom management and all of that, how long the battery life lasts, how long it takes to charge between sessions.
Right. Our charge is under an hour. And I can tell you from experience, when we go to shows, these shows like CES, etc., they're like 10-hour days. And these things will last all day long.
Oh,
they are literally running. Not that you saw TCEA, we were at that event. I mean, these Botsies, they'll just run all day long. I was on that.
That's great. Last thing I want is, students show up in my class all excited and like,
I can tell you it's a minimum 4 hours runtime on consistent use, with a charging about an hour tops. I've seen it charge under half an hour, depending on type of usage.
Yeah, most teachers won't teach 4 hours in a row.
Right. And just the functionality of all, so you're building a robot, you're coding it, then it moves a little bit, but that movement is only a microsecond of what you're going to consume energy with.
Sure.
Unless you're doing consistent RC for the whole time, you're not going to have an issue with batteries.
Yeah, and even that, you'll run it for a minute and stop.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's coming up? What's in the pipeline? Where do you see, both the software, the curriculum side, evolving from here?
I'll speak to on the Botsies hardware and software side. We're expanding Botsies tremendously. We have 4 more SKUs actually launching this year alone. We're in development right now. We're taking a block building one step further. We're adding more pieces to Botsies, extension add-on packs. we're doing this thing called the LED sensor, color sensor kit. I'm sorry. It's an add-on for boxes whereby we add a color sensor and it builds onto the existing boxes set. So imagine, if you will, you take boxes as it is, you get the add-on kit, and with the add-on kit, you now have a color sensor that attaches to the motor itself. And then the child will essentially build an elaborate dinosaur. It's like a huge ankylosaurus from what I've seen.
Mhm.
Imagine, Elad, you have a white piece of paper in front of you, and the child could get a black marker and draw any line that they want. Right? And then they take different colored stickers, they place it on the grid itself. So that line is now a map.
Yeah.
What boxes will do then, it will traverse that map and follow that black line. If it comes to a sequence that's red, because you place a red sticker on that line, the child would have coded the robot, if you see red, then execute this command. And then if you see blue, execute B command, and then C command, etc. So really what it does, it takes the robot itself and it follows the child's instructions to a T. And the child can then program, be creative with the robot in terms of how they want to interact with that line. So you're going to see a robot or dinosaur that's traveling a line, it'll stop. When it sees red, the child programmed it to turn 180 degrees to the right. The robot does that. Then it continues forward. Then the next command, when he says blue, it says reverse 5 centimeters. The robot will do that. So it's really taken that contextual learning and letting children see step-by-step sequential process of what they do with a robot and how it can execute the commands.
Yeah. And I love the unstructured way of interacting with the robot.
Right. We always add some structure from the beginning in the sense of building the first robot, understanding what the sensors or the coding sequences do, but then after that, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Another thing we're doing is an LED chatbot, where there's a big LED screen that comes to the bot, it attaches onto it, child will program into the app, executes some commands, and then it'll illustrate on that LED block what the child had then programmed. Those are two things on the immediate horizon. And we're now launching a different series of blocks for more age groups for boxes.
Gotcha.
So a lot more blocks, more motors, more sensors, more coding, more AR.
Awesome. The more the merrier.
Yeah.
How about the curriculum side?
We don't have plans for it yet. Doc, you speak to it?
Yeah, on the education side, we're wanting to reach more students, make sure that teachers know about us and that they practice with these lessons. And as we get more product and more add-ons, we'll be looking at what projects they can add on to what we currently have in the curriculum.
Gotcha. By the way, you mentioned that the software doesn't collect any data, any student information. Is there a way for the teacher to receive some kind of feedback where the students are and how well they tackle the mission?
Within the app itself, no. And the specific reason is COPPA compliance.
Yeah.
For our age group, we cannot record any data whatsoever. That's a child safety measure. However, Nati is always available. She's on staff with us. We have Sherry, who's a developer, and they're always accessible via email or even phone. Sometimes if they have feedback is needed or input is needed. We welcome input from all sides. This is something that we're really trying to get right. From a business standpoint, Pi was very retail driven the first 3 years of our existence. And it wasn't until very recently that we said, you know what, we have to really focus on the education space. I mean, we're a tech company that does toys for kids, right? So it makes sense. And one of the initiatives was bringing Nati on board, getting her expertise, getting her guidance, and then going forward, as she was saying, she's going to be the one actually spearheading with Sherry the curriculum and lesson plans for future products as well. So lesson plans for boxes are the first that we've actually introduced for any of our products in the sense of a full curriculum from 1 through 10, so to speak. But it's also, the tip of the iceberg, as we would say, in terms of future products having more support for education.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there any other areas you want to cover? Anything that you think we missed or you want to emphasize?
I can just add something about on the education side. There is a need at this age level from, we hear from teachers that they have the students that are doing robotics competitions in the upper elementary, middle school grades, but they really want something that gets them started sooner. And there isn't a lot out there for students in the classroom. So we're really excited to provide that gateway and get more students interested. Even if they decide not to pursue robotics, they're getting this very foundational computational thinking, which is really important for future cognitive development and also skill development.
Yeah, that's a great point. In our recent conversations, Elad, we've met some groups that run after-school programs. These are not specific, state schools, but they're programs like daycares, etc., where they offer coding for kids 7 years plus. And we've met quite a handful that said, you know what, we need a solution for sometimes these kids have younger brothers and sisters that also need daycare, but we want to get them into coding as well too. But how do we introduce some kind of curriculum for that age group? So we're technically the only brand out there that ages this low in terms of the coding sequences we offer. It's our focus. That's our bread and butter. We're in that younger age group. We're the younger learners, as they call it. That's where Pi exists. That's where our competitors don't really reach down into. It's just in terms of development and research. It's something else that we've specialized in.
Yeah. Great. So thank you again, Tuan and Nati, for sharing all this excitement and exciting news and exciting developments that are happening at Pi. And for our viewers, if you want to learn more, down in the description, you'll find the link directly to learn about Botsies and the other products from Pi. And as always, subscribe to the channel. We'll give you more of this exciting news from other vendors, other manufacturers. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Bye.